From choose and cut now to going out on your own property and cutting down your tree. We're going to talk about that with Craig McKinley, our extension forestry specialist. And Craig, what kind of advice would you have for someone who is wanting to go out on their own property or a neighbor's property to cut down their own Christmas tree?
Well, I think the first thing is to look at the house and see exactly where the tree is going to go in that house. Trees have a tendency to, as we say, grow when they get indoors, and I've known a number of people who would cut an 8-foot tree and try to put it in a house with a 6 to 7 foot ceiling. So what you need to do is just see where it's going to go, see how wide the tree is, see how tall the tree is, make sure it fits where the location you have it selected.
And say you're going out on your land, what do you need to look for as you're trying to find just the right tree when you're actually outside looking for it?
Well, I think most people are looking for a symmetrical tree, a tree that is very full throughout, where you don't exactly see the stem, a tree that's fairly straight. But if the tree is going to go into a corner or on a side wall somewhere, then one side of that tree could be a little less than perfect and still look very nice.
And it won't necessarily be perfect like what we see out here on the tree farm is been attended to daily, basically. Out in the wild, it's going to look a lot different.
Of course, the trees in the wild have not been sheared, they've not been staked to make straight. These trees are often colored a little bit, so they're a little darker green than what you might find in the wild, but all in all, a wild tree serves very well as a Christmas tree.
Are there certain species, as you're looking for trees, to look for that may be better than others out in the wild?
That's a customer's choice all the way. Whatever looks nice and what the customers like to put in their home is the tree they ought to select. Those species are the best. All of the species work very well. They are a little different. For example, a red cedar is a little fuller than, let's say, a Fraser fir. Scotch is a little stiffer needle than some of the other species, but whatever you'd like to have in your house is what you should get. And
you say be mindful too of what you want once you get home to put on the tree, correct?
Absolutely. I think as we look at the ornaments that might go on a tree, the stiffer needles or the stiffer limbs hold the heavier ornaments. The lighter limbs, the more what we might say flimsy limbs, something like popcorn strings will look very nice on those.
And what about the fire danger, I guess, is always a concern this time of year. Are there certain trees that are more vulnerable than others?
Well, I'm gonna start with that by saying that trees don't cause fires. Trees are no more dangerous than a piece of newspaper. The problem with trees is that people put them next to a fireplace, they put them over a heating vent, and they'll dry them out. If the trees are watered properly, there should be really no fire danger at all. Certain species have a tendency to use more water, obviously, than other species, and so that's what the consumer should look at, is just make sure that the trees are kept watered and green and moist, and they should be okay.
Once you get them back home.
Right.
Now, when you're out cutting down a tree in the wild yourself, or is there a certain technique that you need to cut it down the right way?
I think the best way is the safe way. Always safety is first, whether you use a saw or a chainsaw or an axe or whatever, is just be safe in working around that tree. It is preferred that you get as close to the ground as possible, just so that there won't be a stump left to cause problems later. But other than that, get the kids out of the way when the tree starts to fall, and then they can all help drag it back to the trailer.
And that's, of course, part of the fun of it. The trees out in the wild, are there concerns for insects or other wildlife issues that people need to kind of have a heads up about before they go out?
There's really no problems to be concerned about. Of course, it is a wild tree, or it is a tree out in nature, so there may be some things that are in there. I have seen a couple of folks happen to get home and find a bird nest in their tree. The one thing that some folks may run into once in a while are aphids. Very rare, but it is possible that after the tree gets in the house, these aphids will hatch out. I get calls every now and then that people think they have ticks in their trees. They're not ticks, they're not harmful, they're not a problem. Just take the vacuum cleaner, and for about 2 minutes you've got them removed, and that's not an issue.
Okay. And bottom line, if you're going out on your own property, great. If you're going out on someone else's, always ask first, right?
Make sure you have the landowner's permission. It might be nice to take them a little Christmas gift, and a tree might even be given to you.
Okay. Craig McKinley, our Extension Forestry Specialist. Thank you.